So hello, my beautiful crew. This is Jamie Salazar from Mystic Conversations with Awakening Stoners and Jamie Salazar, Mystic Medium. Um, of course, now I say now I'm gonna be hyper aware of it. Anyways, I'm sitting here talking to Heather Kate from Peacock and Paisley, and Heather helps abuse victims after narcissistic abuse. So I wanted to go in and talk to Heather today about how narcissistic abuse could trigger a spiritual awakening.
Woo! Hey everybody,
You.
thanks Jamie. Yeah, Heather Kate with peacockandpaisley.com, and I'm a spiritual coach for the creative soul, and I definitely have a specialty in recovering from narcissistic abuse. So sometimes people are aware that that's what they're going through or they've experienced, and some people just know that they're experiencing a traumatic or devastating relationship. Sometimes that's with a partner or a friend or a family member or a coworker or a boss. These people are everywhere. But yeah, go ahead, bring on those questions.
Yeah. Okay, so what is narcissism to begin with? Let's start there.
Ooh, I'm going to start with how do you recognize narcissism,
Okay.
Which is if somebody is arrogant, like extremely arrogant, but on the inside they're extraordinarily insecure. Arrogance always is a cover for insecurity, but if this person is extraordinarily insecure and they shouldn't be, then be careful. Start looking for things. If they don't respond well when you say no, just walk away and try. If you can have nothing to do with them ever again, just walk away. If you were already in a relationship with them, go see my video on gaslighting, how to win the war, and be careful. You need to be very, very careful. You can't confront a narcissist when you're already deep into a relationship because they can get dangerous, whether that's dangerous to your reputation or your physical self. You know they're dangerous for your emotions and your spirit. So when flipping over to what is narcissism, this is going to be the Heather Kate definition, but basically it's a form of possession, spiritual possession. So people all around the world, all different races, ethnicities, religions, cultures, socioeconomic status, gender, has nothing to do with what a person looks like on the outside. It is a series of it can be defined by a series of actions that they take, and it's like they have a playbook or a handbook all across the world. And these are people who have never met each other, but it's like they went to training camp together, like Tony Robbins for being bad. And they do bad things, they do evil things, and psychologically, it's considered there's pathological narcissism, which cannot be treated. Now, some people talk about being narcissistic like they're really like a little bit too concerned with themselves or a little bit too concerned with their appearance. And some, we all need a little bit of that just to have a healthy ego.
Call me a narcissist.
Taking care of ourselves. Yeah, no, but but when somebody's mean to other people, and with that process, that's another story. So you're probably not intentionally mean to people.
Is it like putting the blame back on that other person?
Part of it.
Okay.
That's part of it. And that's one of the ways that you can know that you're with a narcissist, is if they are blaming you for things that you would never, ever, ever, ever do. And if they're doing that consistently, you should quietly, on your own, stop.
Right. Or it's your fault because I did this type of thing.
Your fault. No, they may be actually blaming for it. Cheating is the most common one. We'll start with that one on the top of the partner relationship. If your partner is saying to you, you're cheating on me and you would never have cheated on them, then you have to pause, and when they're not looking and they're not paying attention and they're not sensing your energy, ask yourself, have you seen smoke about them? Are they cheating on you? Because the chances are, if they're accusing you of cheating on them and you would never do that and you haven't done it, they're cheating. Pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
It's so common, and that's one of the crazy things. So that narcissism is really difficult to be aware of ahead of time and to sidestep, because they're so tricky and beautiful on the outside and entertaining and charming and witty. But these are little things that can tip you off. If you find yourself going, a lot, then, you may want to reconsider what's going on in your relationship.
Yeah.
But narcissism is a form of, narcissism is a choice. The individual chooses continuously, day by day, to continue being a narcissist. But that means that they are, for most narcissists, they're choosing to continue to be possessed. And truly the only way that they can be, depossessed is through the divine, through God, through whatever you want to call the divine. They can make this choice and let the divine do this, but it's highly unlikely that they will ever do it. If you are a healer, an empath, a light worker, they are probably drawn to you, and you are.
That was my next question.
You are probably trying to help them because you try to help anybody that comes across your path. But the thing is that you can't. Only they can do it with the divine. So this is not a normal fix-it situation. This is something that you've got to disengage from as best you can, as quickly as you can. So yeah, go ahead. Ask me questions.
So it can be almost like, what I'm wondering is, could empathic people, loving healers, actually be attracting narcissists because we want to heal everybody?
Because we have beautiful, juicy.
Not that it's our fault. That's not where I'm going with that. No,
right,
not at all.
Right. It's not your fault if bad people are attracted to you. It's good people are also attracted to you. But yeah. So the difference is that narcissists try to suck off your energy, because the only thing they can really eat to nourish themselves, to feed themselves, is your energy, because they don't take in the divine's energy. So if you're a healthy light worker empath, then you are constantly receiving loving divine energy, and it's within you. It's, in the Christian Bible, they talk about a wellspring within you. That's the Holy Spirit, and it's the Holy Spirit in you and your spirit within your body, which is a temple. So if anybody's hurting you, if they're physically hurting you, emotionally hurting you, they are damaging the temple of the divine, which happens to be your body and you. So,
right. So energy vampires, is that what they call energy
vampires?
So the majority of energy vampires are narcissists, or do you think that that's like a term for a narcissist, especially in the spiritual realm?
I think there are people who, suck off other people's energy who aren't not narcissists, but they're the people who, if you can talk with somebody and say, you're hurting me in a certain way, and they do stop, they apologize without you begging for an apology. They apologize and they change their behavior. Then no. But also narcissists are tricky, and they can wait things out. I've worked with clients whose partners have waited years and years before they switched. So there's an initial, happy stage, the happy honeymoon stage, and then there's a point at which they switch, and it's usually pretty rapid. Although people don't always necessarily recognize it in the beginning. So it may be in hindsight that they realize, oh my God, there was like it's like a door opened or closed, and suddenly this person is like a different person.
I realized, like, when I was younger, I was in two really narcissistic relationships with two very intense narcissists. And I realized that almost like when I was a kid, because when I was younger, and not that this can't happen when you're older, because of course it does, but it was almost like a way of flirting at the beginning. Because when I was in that relationship at the beginning, it was like, well, you can't be around him because, or these people because they're all looking at you. And so it was almost like, oh, you think I'm so pretty, you know what I mean? And so it was almost like this kind of flirting thing, and like drew me in even more. Flattery. Because I was like, oh, look, yeah, he recognizes that, that I'm beautiful. And so it really drew me in. Yeah.
So, and they may seem, and in the process, it's sort of, this guy made it sound like he was protecting you, right?
Yes. yes, like, and everybody kind of, and well, maybe not everybody, but when I was younger, especially really like that kind of bad boy image. And so it was almost like this kind of sexy thing to be like, oh, well, he's protecting me. And then I was totally 100%. And it didn't really um, happen, or not necessarily happen because it was the whole time, but I didn't really notice it until, I'm not kidding, we were about a year in with one, and then with the second one, which is right after the first one, about 2 years in, and it was just like, what is happening? And the first one was a very physically abusive, and the second one was very emotionally abusive.
Yeah.
So very odd how it was like this sexy thing at first, and I got drawn in by this, oh, well, he's protecting me and he loves me, and this whole thing.
So, intensity, power, speed,
yeah.
Those are all good things. Attention, feeling valued. See, I understand the bad boy thing. I do.
Yeah, right.
But
it's not just me.
I think, especially as women in our culture, we are not given permission, in fact, we are trained specifically to be compliant, subservient, right. Submissive, to right. not do what we want, to put all our hopes and dreams into the man taking care of us in one way or another. And that sets us up, and to people violate our boundaries starting from a very early age. So that sets us up for all of that stuff. And we are not supposed to be powerful, intense, fast, racy, adventurous, risk takers ourselves. So if we can't do it, we may be attracted to a partner who can and does.
Right.
Which in those things, those qualities, those behaviors, those activities are really good. Yeah. Being a shit to somebody else is not. And they're not necessarily hand in hand. Just because somebody's an intense, adventurous person doesn't mean that they're a bad person.
Right. I think in the relationships that I was in, it was a little bit different as well, because I was kind of a fighter as well. So it was almost like they brought out my narcissism. Like everybody, I think, has a little bit of some of those traits in them, right? And so I was almost like, no, you're not going to dominate me. Yeah. And so then it became really abusive.
And then he really liked it. But he was going to fight back.
Yes. And so it became toxic. And, that's, it seems so silly how we can look back and be like, oh, well, that's, how would you ever get into a relationship that, like that? And then when you look back, you're like, well, yeah, I mean, this abusive relationship started, it like you said, it's like passion.
Yeah. Passion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody, and you know what, in the media and movies, that's always very, very well portrayed. Almost like that becomes our dream, to have somebody that's a little bit narcissistic in our lives. So we almost like crave that, depending on certain movies.
I suppose so. Do you have a movie at the top of your mind that you're thinking?
Oh, geez. Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind.
I never liked that movie, so I'm not sure if I've ever watched the whole thing. So is that a narcissistic relationship?
I mean, yeah, they're very toxic. I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit of both. But I mean, there's definitely this kind of passion between them, and it's like this kind of love, passionate thing, and they're completely toxic for each other. Huh. So, I mean, it's like this abusive. I don't even
want to watch it, but I feel like I should. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't watched it for a very long time.
Super iconic movie. Now you can watch it for the difference.
I mean, there's a ton of movies, but that's just one that's like a classic, that I'm like, well, I mean, we're kind of groomed almost.
Absolutely groomed.
By the media to, and I always say the media, meaning, movies, Hollywood, everything, to be attracted. Yeah. And absolutely. To be kind of this submissive little girl type of thing. And, and now I think it's becoming more relevant to be a little bit more bold, as a woman, and stand up for ourselves. And so that's really clashing with the other narcissistic traits, I think.
But that's really good. So because that's one of the common questions, like, how do I prevent, a narcissist from being attracted to me? Well, you can't, because basically they're like moths to the flame and you're the flame. They're going to be attracted to you no matter what. The better and you are at being yourself and being powerful, the more energy you have and the more attracted to you they're going to be, because that's what they need to feed off of. However, when you're in your power, then you can say no to somebody. And
Right.
hate that. So if you say it early on, they're going to go, fuck this shit. And they're going to be like, not an easy prey. Because they're looking for the wounded gazelle is what they're looking for.
Right.
And, when it's not so handy, then they'll just move on.
Man, so much shadow work is happening right now on the planet. And I can see so much of this just playing out in politics. And, there's narcissism everywhere. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, holy shit, it's everywhere. And a lot of energy vampires and a lot of purging going on.
Talk about the purging.
Purging. So purging is like all of the bad stuff coming up to the surface to deal with it, So all of the things that we've kind of pressed down and made, we thought were hidden, are now coming up. And now it's like, blah, like word vomit and energy vomit. Is that a thing? I guess we'll call that a thing.
Makes sense. Totally. That's purging for sure. That's the very definition of it right there.
Right. So what is gaslighting?
It's gaslighting. And talk about iconic movies that talk, about narcissism and stuff. There was a movie made in 1944 called Gaslight, and
I've never seen this.
It's a classic movie, and it is available on cable and streaming and stuff. Gaslighting is when the partner or boss or the narcissist tries to make you doubt yourself, tries to make you feel like you're crazy, you're doing the wrong things, when in reality, and the purpose of that is to make you malleable, compliant, and to just use you. And that's the short version.
Twisting words, is that part of gaslighting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just like going through some things with some people that that's terrible. I'm like, I know exactly what you're doing. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm this crazy conspiracy theorist with all these things coming up. And so I have a couple of friends, one in particular who I'm definitely not going to mention names, but constantly twisting my words. And I get so frustrated because it's like, have you ever been so angry with somebody and you're like, when I'm calm, I know exactly, how to stand in my place. I know exactly, like calmly, I know exactly where, what steps I need to take and why I'm taking them. But then this person comes around and is like, oh, well, that's so silly because you didn't, clearly it's because of this. And I'm like, no, that's not true. But I can't, I can't bring up the things that I, to counteract that. I can't calmly bring it because it's just this fire that builds up and I get so pissed because I'm like, why are you twisting my words? Stop doing that.
Okay, so here's two. So for one of the ways that a narcissist or anybody, whether it's a person or a spiritual being, can get to your energy is to throw you off balance just like that, so that they can kind of like slip in underneath, sneak in and just yank, grab a hold of, your vital organs or your blood or whatever, your spiritual being, and just eat it. So the one of the keys is to remain calm, because after the honeymoon phase is over, narcissists will absolutely pound you in a variety of different ways, pound you, twist you, try to make you, they'll try to beat you into the ground so that, whereas in the beginning they pumped you up and put you on a pedestal, at the end they're going to try to stomp on you on the ground. And you want to get out of that before you get to that stage. But the lower you go, the easier it is for them to get in and just steal your energy. So they go from sucking off your beautiful energy to trying to destroy the beautiful energy. Some people say it's because they're jealous. I think that's partially true.
Right.
But then they also want to suck off that good energy and then get down underneath, and they will just use you up until you're gone. And before you are gone, they will already have lined up other sources of food.
Right. And then sucking you back in, didn't you? So the other day when we were talking, because we talk other than this, clearly, you were talking about hoovering. And
Yep.
I was like, I had never heard that term before, but I mean, that totally makes sense. And I have like the specific friend that I'm talking about,
Yep.
does that a lot. Like I'll get so angry and then I'll be like, you know, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm just, and then, you know, it's like some gift will show up and I'm like,
From that friend,
yes. And I'm like,
classic,
stop
classic
that.
hoovering.
Yeah.
Okay, so so hoovering comes again. This is old school. Hoover vacuum cleaners were some of the first vacuum cleaners. The Hoover Company. I have no idea if that was like their name or I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's
Somebody's last name or something. I don't even know.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly, last name. But the term hoovering in regards to narcissism is about somebody coming back in and trying to suck you back into their world.
Yes.
And that's totally classic. You know, even if a narcissist is horrible to you and, you know, kicks you to the curb, you should expect them most of the time. I'd say 80-85% of the time they come back and try to hoover you. So just like with this friend trying to give you gifts or send you an email or a message saying, oh, you're so wonderful, I hope things are going well for you, you know, we really missed you at the family party or whatever. And something that they know, they'll start with something nice and then a little hook and try to pull you back in. And the best thing you can do for yourself is to avoid that.
Well, what if it's not nice? Is it still hoovering? If it's like something that somebody like they send you a message that's like you've kind of cut them off and you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to deal with this. And then they send you this message to kind of, rekindle the fire, so to speak, but not in a good way,
Yeah, you could
to
still
piss you off.
consider, yeah, you could still consider that hoovering because if that raises your that negative energy, the anger energy. Now, first of all, feeling your feelings is really important and really good, and they're there for your health and well-being, and you need them. But if somebody's trying to trigger your anger, they're trying to get you out of your core of protection and send out that energy so that they can eat it. And they want to also destroy your beautiful sense of self and your normal, beautiful well-being. So if somebody if somebody sends you a message and tries to make you angry, then you have a couple of choices, and you can either ignore them and completely. There's something called gray rocking, which if you want to know about, I have a slightly different take on it, on how to do it than some people. But it's this really, it's keeping your energy, your core, your little bubble healthy, safe, and happy, and balanced and centered, because you don't want to be like them. And they will try to make you like them. A variety of reasons for that. But so you want, if somebody's trying to piss you off or hurt you, then you got to decide, do you want to re-engage in terms of battle? Because that's what it is. Or, do you have to respond to them, or can you not respond to them? If you have an option, which one's better for you?
Right. What if it's a family member and it's like you're going to Thanksgiving dinner with like what can you do?
It depends. This is a hard choice. Do you want to go to Thanksgiving dinner with them?
Right.
Is it bad for you? Is it going to hurt you? Is it toxic? Is it abusive? How do you feel afterwards? How many days does it take you to recover? What does it do to you? What does it end up doing? You're being damaged. How does that affect the people around you, like your children or your spouse? Or, does it negatively impact your work? Is it worth it? But if you're going to a function where, you do have supportive people around you who understand and who know what's going on and can help to buffer things for you, you might be able to get through that, with a little help from your friends. And, and just don't spiritually engage. You can feel it. Once you realize what's happening, you can feel the engagement and you can pull back and withdraw from it.
Wow. That's a lot to take in, man. And there's so much of that going on. It's crazy. And, like I said, it's definitely there's almost times that I can think of that I was like, oh, I acted a little narcissistic on that. Um,
Tell
you
me
know,
about that.
I mean, there's definitely times that I've, gotten pissed off and tried to engage somebody else because I was pissed and I needed to. I mean, there's the shadow side with everybody that's like, huh. But I suppose I'm hoping, I'm hoping that I, don't do that on a regular basis. I don't think I do, but it makes you kind of sit back and think like, how do I react? There's a difference between action and reaction.
Right, you might feel mad on the inside, but what do you instigate on the outside?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a
Yeah.
tipping point for me in one of my relationships where I was like, this guy is not responding to, years of me being really, really nice and supportive and what I thought was understanding. Because I didn't know about narcissism.
Yeah.
I did not know about pathological narcissism. And then when I realized what he was trying to do was try to make me be like him, I was like, I'm out of here. I can't believe this. I can't believe, I love you so much. I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't not be me. I have to be me. I'm here for a purpose. I'm here for a reason. I'm not here by accident. I worked hard to get here. I have worked hard to stay here. Can't do that.
Wow. So, do you think that narcissists try to mold others into how they want them to be? And what does it stem
Yes.
from, do you think? Is it like
Possession.
childhood kind of things? Okay.
So a lot of narcissists do have really traumatic things happen to them in their early childhood, which, if you're familiar with the concepts of multiple personalities or dissociative identity disorder, I think they're all basically the same thing, which is possession. When you are really, really hurt, scared, upset, traumatized, you crack. And that's when these other spiritual beings can come in. And if you are a little child and it's clear that somebody, like a parent, is trying to kill you, then, you may, you're hurt, you're broken, you may actually invite in, these things may pour in, or you may invite in, asking for help, and then, accidentally or whatever, get evil beings that then run you for the rest of your life unless you kick them out. In my experience with clients and with the narcissists that I've seen up close and personal, an incident in this lifetime is not enough to just make all of that happen. Problems in previous lifetimes and not so good spiritual choices made in previous lifetimes, in combination with the early childhood stuff, that I think can really lead to, an establishment of narcissism.
That makes a lot of sense.
There are some people that come into this world as what I would call dark beings, and their pure intention is to be dark, evil, and destroy. And they are also technically, narcissists, but they, their intention from the beginning of time has been evil, negative.
Right. Agreed. So, I mean, you just hit a point for me because I'm like, wow, that was pretty crazy, because one in particular of my exes had a wonderful family. I mean, a perfectly healthy, he's got siblings. I mean, they're all absolutely beautiful people. And, I never understood that. I was like, how, and who knows? It's not like I know, maybe there was some abuse from somebody else or something, but I'm like, it was this wonderful, loving family that I love and adore. To this day, I love them and adore them.
Oh, so you still know them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you have had many, I'm going to guess, many years of knowing these people, so you would probably have seen. I have to say, though, that there are, so I have close family members who are narcissists and people with issues, and there were close family friends who, I had told that there were problems, and they heard me, but they didn't really believe me until they were, so quote unquote like embedded within the family, like really there, in the household, over a period of time. And it was like reality TV, like when the cameras first go into a family's house, like everybody's
Yes.
like, don't say that. And then after a while, it wears off and the shit flies. Well,
Right.
it wasn't until this friend was in the middle of the ship flying that he was like, oh my God, Heather, I didn't really believe you.
Yeah.
Truth be told, like, I know you told me I believed you, but I didn't really believe you.
Second relationship was very much like everybody was like, but he's so nice and he's so wonderful and he's so quiet. And I'm like, until
Ooh,
yeah, it was
that's the
very
emotionally
weird.
abusive one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was very odd. And so, but I have to say
And you
that
see, you went from one extreme to the
I
other on
totally
the
did. It was the
surface,
weirdest
right?
thing.
You were
Weirdest
trying
thing
to,
ever.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know
right,
why, I mean, there's reasons for that. And maybe, like I
right.
said, like we were talking about, it's past life things, maybe soul contracts, that I had to deal with. But I have to say the second one, totally, like, now, I mean, I don't know him, on a close, really, I don't have a close relationship with him, but I do know him. And the woman that he's with now is wonderful, and they apparently have a wonderful relationship from what I know. And so, do you think that people can change?
Narcissist? No.
Yeah. No, you don't?
I'm gonna say 99.9999999% of the time, no.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, because basically but they're really good at hiding shit.
Right. That's true. That's true. Very odd. I'm just like, I
It
wonder.
wasn't you.
No, by no means am I saying that, oh, well, it was me. But like I said, I'm starting to kind of think this is like part of my shadow work and being like, I definitely am flawed. I've got some shit on my own. And so by no means, and I've told this to, many people, by no means am I saying, oh, it was totally my fault. That's not what I mean. But taking ownership of my part in that, I think is pretty important.
So
And
what
being
was your
like,
part?
so I think with the emotional abuser at that point in time, I was very, very young and very, very scrappy, probably from the first one, because the first one was very physical. And so towards the end of that, I started to get very physical. And so going into the next relationship, where it was very emotional, I was still very physical. And so I have to say that I pretty much got in his face. Like there would be an argument and he would just be kind of, emotionally just kind of stirring things up. And so I would be the one to kind of get in his face and be, and like I said, we were very young, but owning my part in that, I think, is pretty important. And so I'm wondering if it's just depends on, toxic chemistry, you know? No.
So, from what you were just saying, what I was hearing was that there's a difference between your role in a toxic relationship and your behavior.
Okay.
So, like for instance, your behavior didn't, getting in his face didn't make him be emotionally abusive before you got in his face.
True. Very true. Very true.
For instance.
Yeah. I guess I was just pretty scrappy at that point in time.
I think you're a scrappy, feisty person, which is a good thing.
A little bit. My husband
you-
is absolutely amazing, so he doesn't make me be scrappy, but I guess I can get that way with certain people. But I'd have to say that in my younger years, I was definitely a lot more, but I definitely had, a lot more scrappy, but I definitely had some issues with my self-worth, more so, not saying that I don't now, but more so when I was younger. And so it was very much like a personal attack on me if it was, if I got embarrassed or, something like that. When I was younger, I was just a little bit more spicy when I was younger than I am now.
It sounds like you've grown a lot and done a lot of that inner work.
Right.
So that's a good example of, perhaps that's part of what you were thinking felt like narcissism. Are you narcissistic? But if you are able to think about that, work on it, and over time correct course a little bit, heal some of those wounds that caused you to be that way, to kind of like getting tenderized, on the outside,
Yeah.
emotionally tenderized. And if somebody throws salt on it, you're like, ah. Um, but if you intentionally went out and tried to destroy somebody to their core, down to their soul,
Yeah, I
that's
was never like that.
narcissism.
I was never like that. Never, ever.
That's different.
I always stuck up for the underdog. I always wanted the underdog to win. I was always nice to the people that were considered nerds, the nerdy ones. Like I was never the mean one. I always was like, why would you be a dick to him? I was never that way. But I do have to say that being with people that had narcissistic traits or were narcissistic, kind of pulled some of those traits out in me. And maybe it was just survival, I don't know, but.
I think that, especially when you're in the midst of a narcissistic relationship, if you really love that person, which chances are you probably really do, or you wouldn't be there.
Now looking back, I'm like, no, I definitely didn't. But at the time, yes, I thought I did.
Oh, well, yeah. See, and in relative importance, like at the time, is this person providing, emotionally what you felt that you needed at the time. When you're learning and growing and
false love.
We all are. Okay, so this is one of those areas where I take it, I hear you, yes, that's fine, but I wanted to address that sometimes people feel that they don't really love the person that abused them after they get out of it, or people tell them you didn't really love them. That's not real love. Well,
right.
Narcissists might not really love you, but you probably really love them. So
this was in my my younger years. I've been married now for about 20 years. And so not in narcissistic relationship for about 20 years. So now I look back and I can say, no, I wasn't really in love. But, I guess when I was in it, I really did feel like it was love because I was very young and, that's just the way it worked. So you're right. There was love there. And you know what? There still is love there. Not by any means do I want to jump back into that. Thank God I'm not in that position. But I understand that there's, and I think that's part of the shadow work too, is realizing that some of these things, like the triggering this spiritual awakening, right? Some of these things are meant to happen to trigger other things, in you. So to trigger the healing in you. Not by any means am I saying that it's good to be with a narcissist, because it's absolutely not. But if you're in that relationship, and then you're able to, stand up for yourself and get out, then it's like, you're not broken, like I really feel like my strong point was right afterwards being like, oh, wow, I'm my own person and I can really figure this out. And then started to love myself that way.
Cool.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
I've got a long way to go, but.
We all do. That's what we're here for, the Earth School, right?
For sure. Well, good. And so how do you think, so I know that there's this kind of, it's almost like a narcissistic era that we're kind of jumping out of right now, or we're in it technically, to be able to change things, right? To expand. How do you think that is helping people? And like we just talked about with me kind of learning how that can shift you into different ways. How can that help, catapult healing for us to move on into bigger things?
Okay.
Or do you not think that is possible?
Oh, I do think it's possible. I think it's really necessary. I think we need to open our eyes and see what's really happening. I think, so in the Bible, there are passages talking about exactly this happening, that there will be more and more narcissists, and that people, it says women, which really annoys me, but people who don't take it seriously enough get taken advantage of by these horrible, and it says men, but honestly, narcissists are across all genders, everything. There's no barrier.
I think it's safe to say, in my personal belief, anyways, it's more like the demonic, like you were saying, like almost like a possession. So I don't even see them as men or women. It's almost like
Right.
an entity, right?
Yes. Yes. Well, and it's
Right.
multiple entities. It's like a group.
Right.
It's like a
The battle.
international corporation that sends
Yes.
out teams that then infect
The
each
minions.
infect and yes,
Yes.
yes, yeah. So I don't. So I think this is a time of, as you said, a battle, of war, of and those of us who are here now and who identify as, you know, light workers, healers, positive forces, people who are trying to do good in the world. It is absolutely, you know, time to wake up. It's like being a sleeper spy. Like, you know, you came
Mm-hmm.
in as this type of being, and there's a really good chance that you came into a family with these issues.
Right. Well, maybe it was
Yeah.
almost like how to, you know, like when you're put into the army, like drills, you know what I mean? Like doing
Boot
drill,
camp.
like, yeah, maybe it was like a boot camp, you know, I don't know. I'm just throwing things out, but I'm like,
It
that
is.
would make sense,
It is.
you know,
It is. It
for,
is
to
like.
get you to this point.
Yep. And then first, when you first said that, you know, that you'd been in a couple of these relationships early in your life, that was like the first feeling I got, was like training for
Yeah.
what's, you know, for what you're going to be doing, what's to come. So, you know, all that, but also, uh, so, okay. So sorry. So battle, family members, and past lives. So this is where I think it like crisscrosses over in soul contracts. So
Right.
I have felt for over a decade. If you go onto my website, there's some posts from a while ago that talk about,
Tell us what your website is, please, so that people can find you as well.
thank you, peacockandpaisley.com. So that's
Okay.
PeacockandPaisley.com.
And I'll put that in my links as well
Okay.
down below.
Okay. And yours is what? Mystic Medium.
MyMysticMedium.com.
MyMysticMedium.com.
MyMysticMedium.com. Yes.
Okay. Cool. So soul contracts, past lives, and the best explanation I had for this is trains. Used to be, I was giving the warning, trains are leaving the station, things are speeding up, it's getting faster now, like, you know, think whatever's going on is getting faster.
Yes.
And like the good train and the bad train are leaving the station and they're going in separate directions, so you can't straddle. But this is old, this is over now, basically. You
Yeah.
can't straddle the trains anymore. You know, everybody's a little bit
Pick
good,
your
a little
team.
bad.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you have to fucking pick your team. You can't, you know, leave your bags on one train and go, oh, I gotta get them.
Yeah.
They're gone. Leave
Yeah.
them, let them go. And, you know, and it's ripping families apart. So, you know, Thanksgiving issues, yeah.
Yeah.
Relationships, friendships, you know, it's like things are spinning harder and faster.
Right.
If you don't know what a centrifuge is, look it up and watch it. It's basically what they use to take, like if you put blood or something in a test, there's a whole lot of blood references today. In a test tube, this is how they do blood
Seems
testing.
fitting.
What, did you say Thanksgiving?
No, I said seems fitting.
Seems
Like
fitting, yeah.
your soul is in your blood, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they put something in a test tube, a liquid in a test tube, and they put it in this thing called a centrifuge, which is basically a spinning wheel that goes really, really fast, and it separates out the types of blood. So you've got like the white blood cells in one end of the tube, and the red in the other end, for instance. And it's kind of what's happening with people. We're being pulled apart. And it's hard, you know, you might not want to let go of people. And I know that I came into this life to try to offer a bunch of people a last chance opportunity. I don't know exactly what's happening next, but I do know that we're being centrifuged out, we're being separated, and, you know, people that had karmic issues, you know, that we had karmic issues with in the past or whatever, I found a bunch of them and tried to, you know, I offered the opportunity basically, and a lot of you might feel like this too, for them to love me in a good, healthy, happy, positive way.
Right.
That's not narcissism. And it's a choice. And so, you know, they make a choice. And if they've chosen to, you know, they've chosen the other train. So it's hard.
Hard
It's
to let
really
go.
very hard to let go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's part of what, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, if you're in a relationship that's devastating for you and you find it very hard to leave, that can be part of why. You know, if you're looking at your life and going, this doesn't make sense to me, I know this person's bad for me, I deserve better than this, I have the ability to be, you know, out of this and in a better situation, but why do I feel so drawn? Why do I feel so, you know, why do I want to stay here?
Mm-hmm.
It can be because of not only the past life relationships where, you know, you really, really love somebody, like you already loved this person before you came into this lifetime, but whatever it is that's going on, you know, maybe you're feeling the same way, that you can't, if they go on the other train, you may never, ever see them again, ever. Right. Permanently, like not.
It's hard to try to pull them onto the right train too, or I shouldn't say right train because there really is no right or wrong.
I disagree. You know, I think there is, but
I have a little bit different feel on that.
Yeah.
However, you know, it's like yin and yang, right? Like we need both. However, I mean, because otherwise, if you didn't have the downs, you wouldn't know the ups, right? You wouldn't understand that.
Do you need narcissists?
Well, technically we don't want them. It's, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not by any means saying that it's the greatest thing. But I think it's important because that's what we came here to do, right? To figure out who we were. And if we didn't know the evil, then we wouldn't be able to pick that train in general, right? It's like God is everything. we have different views on that.
We do.
That's fine. That's good. That's healthy. Yeah. It's healthy to have disagreements that are, you know, because otherwise we just be robots.
Because we learn from each other.
Right.
All the time. Yeah.
Agreed. I love it. Well, Heather, I would love to do this again with you because it looks like we're about an hour in. But I would love to do this again with you because it's always fun to have these conversations, especially when it's like you can take things that are that you wouldn't think are spiritual and put them into this mix right now. Like everything that's coming together right now is like, holy shit. I mean, everything that I have, you know, never thought would go together is like, holy shit, it's all coming together, you know, and all of my conspiracy theories and all of my, you know, I love it, but I'm like, wow, I can't believe that we're in this place right here, right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm definitely honored and excited to be here, but it's a shit show for sure. It's definitely a shit show, but I mean, I'm honored to be here. I mean, like I always say, we're spiritual badasses for being here right now on the planet, right? We got to have that kind of Joan of Arc kind of feel to be able to.
See, you know, the image that popped into my mind when you were talking about the shit show about honored to be here was Niagara Falls, but shit, and these little ponchos, the little protective ponchos, like clear ponchos, like there's a lot of stuff going, yeah.
And an umbrella, like just watching it all fall down. You're like, okay, I know. I mean, that totally makes sense because I'm like, on one end, I'm like, I can't believe that, you know, they're doing this to us, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, this system, and I'm watching these systems fall. But then at the same time, I'm like, no, why are they doing that? You know, but I'm like, wait, it has to happen in order for us to see it so that we can, you know, help pull it down a little bit more and help it crumble. So the shit show is like exciting, but then you get so angry in the middle of it. And I'm like, there's times that I get so emotional. Like this morning, I was so emotional. I had to like sit in the bath and sit there and cry. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm crying for, but it needed to happen.
And there's a lot going on.
Right. Yeah. We've got some Dharma. I've got Dharma set up. Me and my cousin always do some Dharma on full moons and new moons. And to try to bring in that energy.
Can you talk
the good energy?
Can you tell us about that?
So Dharma is like, and I think everybody's got their own thing, right? Like there's a ritual, right? For a reason. And I don't mean dark ritual because I'm not into that. But helping bring in the light, right? Mm-hmm. And so every full moon and new moon, as a Buddhist disciple, we used to do Dharma rites. I really missed that. And because I haven't been to the temple, you know, and so I really miss that. But I do my own practice, and I enjoy it. And my cousin happens to be a practitioner, and so we do our own rites. And
And
you
what
know,
do you
she
do? What do you do? What can people
so.
do?
Well, you know, I can't tell you what to do on the Dharma ends because, you know, I'm a disciple, but I'm definitely not a teacher in that. Um, so I can't, like, it's an esoteric school. So if I like bring that out, then I'll get in some trouble.
Oh,
So I
okay.
can't do that. However, what
Okay.
I can say is ritual, you can create your own ritual, you know, whether it be saging your house or, you know, sitting down and, like crying, you know, go out and take a drive and lose your shit, you know, during a full moon. Go put your crystals and everything outside to bathe in the moonlight. I mean, there's all kinds of these crazy things that you can do, and you can create your own ritual for every new moon and full moon. And maybe they're different. Maybe they're the same, you know, every time. Maybe, you know, one's the same for every new moon and one's the same for every full moon. It really doesn't make a difference, but just getting that spiritual energy, maybe prayer, you know, people like we do the chanting is prayer. But same thing, you know, going out there and doing prayer. Um, you know, and it's always great to have more than one together. So
Yes.
because there's that energy kind of builds up even more.
Yes.
Meditation is really important. You know, I mean, there's so many things that we can do to number one, purge energy. So if it feels like, you know, going out there and crying is this, you know, I think we've been kind of trained for that, like, oh, that's so negative. No, I don't think it's negative at all. I think it's so important to get that out. Yeah. um and so, you know, being able to create your own energy vortex, you know, and get rid of all the bullshit. It's like when I think of a vortex, you know, I also thinking of like a tornado, right? So
Yep.
there's all this muck that gets stirred up and then it kicks it out, you know, like, okay, get stirred up, get pissed off, get all that shit out of there and get rid of it instead of holding it inside. So, I mean, there's lots of things. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I think it's really
Yeah.
important, just like you said. Yeah, letting things out is good in a, you know, in a safe, healthy way that doesn't hurt anybody else. It's
Right.
really important.
Right.
So, and I'm one of those people that
Got it here. Basha quit it. See, Basha gets crazy.
good
Okay.
job, doggy. Good
I know.
job.
She's like, wait a minute. That's my daughter. So she just like comes in and shuts the door again, like, oh, sorry. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I'm sorry. Please continue. What were you saying?
Oh, no, well, I'm just gonna say I love your dog, and I think it's wonderful that she protects you and she loves you and she's on the job.
Bashi.
Yeah. Letting things. Oh yeah, I can't meditate I can't like just go. Oh, I'm gonna sit down and like go. But
Right.
you know, lots of people can. I can do that really well. If I exercise hard for several hours beforehand, but I don't.
Oh,
I'm not. You know, I can't exercise hard yet. I'm still recovering from an injury. So,
yeah.
my favorite meditation is walking. So if you're one of those people that like the idea of like sitting down and, you know, and going home doesn't work for you, even just walking can help. Like something that's rhythmic where you're in a place where you're safe. You don't have to really think
Yes.
about anybody else. You can get into a zone. And there she is. And just, you know, and then if you give yourself long enough, like for me, it can take an hour, it can take half an hour or whatever, but I will eventually reach a point where I can feel the yuck leaving me,
Yeah.
which then enables me to get to whatever the real issue is. Like if I'm trying to figure out an issue and I can't figure it out, going for a walk or a run or a swim,
Right.
perfect.
Right.
But yeah,
I think
love
meditation, I think, can be anything that you that takes away time and space. You know, if you get into this zone where you don't like, I mean, some people are like gardening, you know, like that's their meditation.
Yes.
They forget
Yes.
about what time it is. It's like, whoa, that
Yes.
went by so fast and I was in this zone, you
Yep.
know, and it can
Yes,
be
it is.
whatever you want it to be, as long as it makes
Taking
you,
a shower.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Takes you out of time and space.
And
So I think
connect.
that's perfect.
From my perspective, takes you out of time and space or whatever, however you want to look at that, but connects you with spirit, with
Yes.
with the divine and with your spirit. Yeah. I know we've been on a long time, and we gotta
I
do
know.
more. We gotta
I
do
know.
more.
We will definitely do more.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes. So thank you so much. Welcome to your ascension, creator. I will see you on the next video. Let's do this again, my dear.
Peace, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.